In the tense climate of the Cold War, the Soviet Union began sending nuclear-powered submarines into the waters surrounding Cuba, describing these missions as war patrols to Soviet commanders. This was not a mere show of force, it was preparation for a state of war, carried out with absolute seriousness. One such mission in early 1968 ended in tragedy and mystery when one of the Soviet Union's most advanced ballistic missile submarines, K-129, vanished in the Pacific Ocean. What followed was a decades-long veil of silence, a covert CIA salvage operation, and a suppressed Cold War secret that, once fully revealed in 2025, proved even more dangerous and disturbing than anyone had imagined. The story of K-129 is not merely about a sunken vessel, but a near-catastrophic moment of Cold War brinkmanship that brought the world frighteningly close to nuclear war, a story that the public was never supposed to know. On February 24, 1968, the Soviet Gulf II-class submarine K-129 departed quietly from its home port at Petropavlovsk, a remote naval base on Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. At nearly 300 feet long and armed with 3 R-21 nuclear ballistic missiles, as well as nuclear-tipped torpedoes, K-129 was an instrument of silent, underwater warfare. The mission was classified at the highest level, a routine but crucial deployment into the vast Pacific to track U.S. Navy forces and maintain nuclear deterrence. As with all such operations, communications were kept minimal to avoid detection, limited to brief, encrypted transmissions. On March 8, K-129 sent its final radio message and then nothing. The submarine missed all subsequent check-ins, triggering a rapid alarm in Moscow. Soviet Naval Command scrambled to determine what had gone wrong. Was it mechanical failure, sabotage, a collision with an American vessel? A massive search operation ensued, sweeping thousands of miles of ocean, but the Soviet Navy found no trace. In an era without GPS or satellite imaging, the ocean's vastness swallowed the submarine whole. K-129 had simply disappeared, and its fate became one of the Cold War's most enduring mysteries. Unbeknownst to the Soviets, the Americans were already listening. The U.S. Navy had been operating SOS-US, the sound surveillance system, a vast network of underwater hydrophones designed to detect low-frequency acoustic signals like those from Soviet submarines. On March 8, the same day K-129 went silent, SOS-US registered a sudden, powerful acoustic event, a violent underwater explosion emanating from deep in the Pacific, approximately 1,560 miles northwest of Hawaii. The explosion was unlike any marine or seismic activity, pointing instead to a catastrophic mechanical implosion. Using acoustic triangulation, U.S. analysts pinpointed the location to a remote ocean trench more than 16,000 feet deep. Armed with this intelligence, the U.S. initiated a highly classified operation codenamed Operation Sand Dollar. The USS Halibut, a submarine specially outfitted with deep-sea cameras and manipulator arms, was dispatched to investigate. After months of painstaking search through crushing depths and total darkness, the Halibut located the shattered remains of K-129. The wreck was split into massive sections, twisted and broken, offering haunting visual confirmation of a violent disaster. Yet for American intelligence, the implications went beyond tragedy. It was a golden opportunity. By the early 1970s, with the wreck confirmed and its location known, the CIA recognized the potential intelligence windfall. K-129 was not just a sunken submarine, it was a capsule of Soviet military secrets. The vessel likely carried cryptographic keys, missile launch codes, naval strategies, and technical data that could drastically improve U.S. understanding of Soviet capabilities. But recovering the wreck posed monumental challenges. At nearly 3 miles deep, no existing salvage technology had ever attempted such a feat. Moreover, any overt attempt would risk a diplomatic crisis with the Soviet Union. To conceal the mission, the CIA turned to billionaire Howard Hughes, an eccentric aviation and engineering magnate whose vast enterprises offered the perfect cover. Under the pretense of a deep-sea mining venture to harvest manganese nodules from the ocean floor, the Hughes Glomar Explorer was built. In reality, this $350 million ship was constructed to carry out Project Azorian, one of the most ambitious and secretive intelligence operations of the Cold War. The Glomar Explorer was unlike anything the world had seen. Its most revolutionary feature was a massive robotic claw codenamed Clementine, designed to descend 16,500 feet into the Pacific abyss and lift the remains of K-129 back to the surface. A hidden moon pool beneath the ship allowed the wreckage to be brought aboard without detection. On July 4, 1974, the ship arrived at the wreck site under tight secrecy. The crew faced immense challenges navigating ocean currents, intense pressure, and mechanical precision in complete darkness. When Clementine successfully latched onto the forward section of the submarine, it was a historic engineering triumph. The section reportedly contained critical systems, including torpedo tubes and the code room. Slowly and delicately the claw began lifting the wreck toward the surface, but then disaster struck. 2/3 of the recovered section broke away and plunged back into the deep, lost forever. Despite the setback, The portion that was recovered contained priceless intelligence cryptographic materials, missile data, and shocking forensic evidence. What the CIA found within the recovered wreckage stunned U.S. officials. Alongside torpedoes and mechanical components were the remains of Soviet crew members, silent victims of a long-forgotten mission. The nuclear torpedoes, though corroded, were intact, posing a lingering threat, but it was the condition of the submarine's missile tubes and control systems that sparked alarm. Investigators noted burn marks, tampered wiring, and signs of a partially completed missile launch sequence, evidence inconsistent with mechanical failure. A chilling new theory emerged. Someone aboard K-129 had attempted to launch a nuclear missile. Whether the sequence was stopped by technical malfunction, last-minute orders, or internal sabotage remains unclear, but the implications were harrowing. The CIA now believed that a rogue nuclear launch had been initiated aboard a Soviet submarine in 1968, an unauthorized act that, if successful, could have triggered nuclear war between the United States and the USSR. This revelation radically recontextualized the disaster. K-129 had not simply imploded from an accident. It had nearly become the ignition point of World War III. Faced with the terrifying implications of their discovery, U.S. authorities confronted a difficult decision. The public revelation of Project Azorian would risk global outrage, damage diplomatic relations, and expose the United States' most secretive surveillance capabilities. When the press and Congress began asking questions, the CIA adopted the now infamous GLOMA response, refusing to confirm or deny the existence of the operation. This ambiguous reply became standard for intelligence agencies, shielding covert missions behind the veil of national security. Though Project Azorian had been a partial success, discussions about a follow-up mission, codenamed Project Matador, were soon shelved. The potential gains were outweighed by the risks of further exposure. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union grew increasingly suspicious, intensifying its naval patrols and surveillance efforts in the Pacific. Publicly, the USSR remained restrained, but behind closed doors, their alarm was palpable and a rare act of gesture. The CIA in 1992 released footage of a burial at sea for 6 Soviet crew members recovered from K-129, conducted with military honors aboard the Glomar Explorer. The film was meant to humanize the mission and ease tensions, but for the Russians, the act offered little comfort. The fate of K-129 continued to haunt Russian military and intelligence circles, fueling speculation and distrust. Decades later, in 2025, newly declassified documents and advancements in data analysis finally confirmed the CIA's internal conclusion that a rogue launch attempt had occurred aboard K-129. The silence of 1968 had almost become the scream of nuclear war. What sank in the depths of the Pacific was not just a submarine, but a moment of near catastrophe, a moment the world came horrifyingly close to total annihilation without ever realizing it. The story of K-129 remains one of the most chilling secrets of the Cold War, a haunting reminder of how thin the line between peace and destruction truly was. The strike was intended for the United States, itself a desperate and possibly clandestine attempt to shift the Cold War's trajectory. Either scenario would have plunged the world into unimaginable disaster had it succeeded. What is particularly sobering is that the world was spared not because of diplomacy, intelligence, or deterrence, but purely by accident, a failed system, a misstep, a catastrophe that didn't fully unfold. The line between nuclear war and continued peace was drawn by chance, not intention. As the truth of K-129 finally emerges from the shadows, it becomes painfully clear that the Cold War came far closer to turning hot than most ever imagined. March 8, 1968, now stands not just as a moment of mystery, but as a date when the apocalypse may have been narrowly avoided. The newly uncovered facts paint a chilling picture of a desperate mission, a missing warhead, and a sequence of events that could have ended life as we know it. What remains unknown may still lie beneath the waves, but what has been revealed is enough to reconsider how fragile peace truly was, and perhaps still is. How close did the world actually come to nuclear war that day? The answer, it seems, which is closer than we ever feared. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching.